Hey guys, Matt here from Core Healing, and today I wanted to share with you a few of the biggest lessons I've learned as a parent, based on my own experiences as a father. So, first lesson is don't assume. So, I love my kids dearly, and I do absolutely anything for them. I cook dinner, clean up for them, earn money to keep a roof over their head, drive them to dance, to soccer practice, help them whenever they need it. And I do this because I love them so much. But this is not the type of love that they need or they want. If you think because what you do for them is showing love, it is to you, but it's not to them. They're too young to understand it that way. Now, parenting is the hardest job in the world, and most of us are doing the best we can. But just remember this: don't assume that your kids know you love them. Don't assume that they know that you're proud of them. Don't assume that you know that you'll be there to support them, whether it's win, lose, or draw. Unless you actually tell them you love them, show them you love them, and always be there for them and support them no matter what, they're not going to understand. If you start to assume that, they will start to assume as well, and they will assume that something is wrong with them. They will assume that they're not worthy of your love. They will assume that they don't matter to you. So they'll assume when you work late and aren't there to play with them, that money is more important than them. When you say you can't afford something, yet you have the money to buy something else, they will assume that they aren't worth it. And when they make a mistake or fail and you get upset at them for being emotional, they'll assume that they need to be perfect to receive your love. So our kids need us to communicate and show them how much we love them. You cannot tell them and show them enough how much you love them. And if you don't, they'll make up their own story to protect themselves, and they'll likely go through life struggling to feel like they truly fit in, to feel like they were loved. So, and that's all we want as humans, to be loved and accepted and made to feel safe. And this leads on to the second lesson. And lesson number 2 is be honest with them and yourself. So many times as a parent, I've struggled and I felt stressed and busy. And as I said, you're trying to do the best you can just to keep your head above water. It's a tough job. It is the toughest job in the world, being a parent. And it's hard juggling everything when you have kids. And sometimes you don't get a lot of time for yourself, and you feel a bit taken for granted. And I mean, sometimes I get a bit snappy and my emotions get the best of me. And sometimes someone might be in the firing line of that built up emotion. Sometimes my kid cop the emotions coming out. They're at the end of it. Now, if I make a mistake or get upset at the kids, or I'm a bit stressed, I try and own it. And I'm honest with them about why I'm feeling why I am. And I let them know it's not their fault I'm feeling this way, and I'm just human. And if you feel like you need to hide mistakes from your kids, and your emotions from your kids, and your weaknesses from them, just because you love them and you don't want them to see, and you don't want to see them see you suffer and see them hurt, it's actually hurting them more, because you're not teaching them it's not okay to fail, and you are teaching them that it's not okay to fail, and they should be ashamed of their mistakes and emotions, and they should be trying to cover them up. So if I don't explain to them why I made a decision or why I decided to act that way, they're going to make up something that helps them understand why. And they may believe it's their fault, even though it had nothing to do with them. Now, then they may want to start taking responsibility for your emotions, and you don't want this to happen, because they'll end up changing their behavior around you just to keep you happy. And this may include not communicating out of fear of being punished, not being honest with you, or hiding things and not telling the truth. So this behavior can cause them to suppress their own feelings, which isn't healthy, and will lead to deeper problems as an adult and in their teens, like it did for me. Now, lesson 3, what you got to understand: if you're stressed, your kids are stressed even more. So if you're stressing about money and other things in life, and you're always on edge, how do you think your kids are feeling? You're the main source of their survival on this planet. And if you aren't feeling safe on this earth, how do you think they're going to be able to feel? Now, my son, he was very anxious when he was starting school, and I take full responsibility for that. He was anxious because of me and my emotional issues that I've been too afraid to face up to and resolve. Now, I was stressed about work, about money, I was living in fear about my future. I was stressed about making mistakes, doing the wrong thing. Even though I tried to hide my emotions from him and act like there was nothing wrong, he knew what was going on. Kids are very good at reading energy, and he was stressed simply because he felt unsafe. His mate caregiver, me, felt unsafe, felt stressed. So there was no way he could feel safe while I wasn't feeling safe. Now his coping pattern was to cling on to me, and he wouldn't let me go. And in the end, I believe he was just trying to protect me. And like I mentioned before, he started to take responsibility for my emotional state, and he took responsibility on himself at a young age, and he shouldn't have to do that, but he did. And many of our kids do this without us realizing that pattern. Now, other common coping mechanisms and patterns are shyness, or maybe avoidance, people pleasing, or on the other side, it's either misbehaving or the inability to sit still and concentrate or focus. And this is simply because the kid's nervous system it's always triggered, and they can't relax because they don't feel safe at all. They never feel safe enough to relax. They're always on edge, and they're always seeing things in their environment that can threaten their safety. So kids learn best by actually reading our energy and following our actions. And kids are just like a mirror, and they're projecting back at us our deepest fears and our unconscious patterns. So I had a choice. I could keep ignoring the fact that my kids were projecting my fears back at me and blame them, thinking they were broken and they're misbehaving and that there's something wrong with them. Or I could take responsibility and face my own fears and face my demons and lead by example, lead by my actions. And as I started facing my past, facing the uncomfortable things, facing the emotions that I'd suppressed a lot through my childhood and my 20s and early 30s, I found that a lot of that actually came from my childhood and the situations that I went through as a kid. And just like my son was experiencing through me, it was actually the same pattern repeating along the generations. So once I started facing up to my own fears and resolving my own deep emotional baggage, his behavior also started to change, and he became more confident, he became more resilient, and he was just feeling, as I was myself, I was starting to feel this as well. And the emotion code was a big part of me helping resolve my deep emotional baggage, and I also worked on him to remove what he'd accumulated from me because of his early years in life. And I chose this route for the sake of my kids, and I'm still working on it, and that's okay. And I'm going to make more mistakes, and I'm going to learn along the way. And it's not always smooth sailing, and there's always more work. But we have a much, much better relationship now. We communicate much better with each other. We're honest with each other, and he often tells me how he's feeling now instead of not saying anything. So I don't tell him he shouldn't feel a certain way. I tell him to honor the emotions and help him understand the situation better. Our kids' emotions they're not wrong. They're just from their own perspective, and a lot of the time as parents we don't understand that perspective, and they're not doing it to spite you. They're not doing it to make your life harder. They're doing it because you're not seeing them and you're not hearing them or accepting them for who they are, and they're trying to wake you up. So if they're not being told or shown they're loved in any way, or they don't feel like they belong, or if you're always stressed and you're not honest with them, they won't feel safe, and they'll keep doing what they need to just to get your attention. So in summary, 3 key lessons. So lesson 1 is make sure you tell your kids and show them that you love them. Don't assume that because you're doing certain activities for them and you cook and clean for them and you put a roof over their head, don't assume that they know you love them. You need to tell them and show them. Lesson 2, be honest with them. Tell them you've made a mistake. Show your emotions and let them know it's okay to share yours. Tell them you're sorry if you've made a mistake to hurt them. And lesson 3, if your child isn't behaving as you want them to, have a look at the skeletons in your own closet that may need addressing instead of throwing blame on them. If you're stressed, how must they be feeling? They need you to survive. Now, remember, go easy on yourself. You are human as well, and you'll make mistakes. And it's hard when we uncover patterns that we might find out that we've been hurting others. And nobody is perfect. No need to feel guilt. Guilt is in the past. So I've done many things as a parent that I'd love to take back. But at the time, I was just doing the best job I could under the circumstances. Sometimes we're tired, we're stressed, but it's about owning up to them and being honest with our kids. Now, if you wanted to start uncovering the emotional baggage that you're holding on to so your kids don't inherit the same limiting patterns as you, the emotion code and body code may be able to help you. So these energy clearing methods, along with our intuitive abilities, it can help you identify the destructive patterns and giving you more awareness about your own behaviors so you can make the positive changes that will change your life and your family's life for the better. So if you're ready to give your kids the best possible life, then the change has to start with you. So thanks for listening, and I hope you got something from that video. Thank you.